Mhm. Hey, Veronica.
Mute. Hello.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Well, scrambling around to try to finish lunch. Other than that, I'm okay. So,
What did you say?
scrambling around trying to finish my lunch here. You know,
Oh,
we got okay, fine. So, it's not like I'm going to starve to death anytime soon.
no, you could go ahead and finish it. That's important.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, we need to get rocking and rolling here, and so we're good. Anyhow, all right. So we got some of you folks coming back. That's good to see. I'm going to do a couple of things. I'm going to share. I really don't have a lot of work to share with you because only a few of you sent in a few things, but we're going to take a quick look at that. And then I actually have another video that's sort of a complement to the one that we saw this morning. And in this particular case, the difference is that they actually show more work rather than, interviews. So, at least that's my gist. I haven't watched the whole thing. So we'll probably take a look at that this afternoon and kind of go from there. All right. So
I heard I missed a very good class this morning.
okay.
But I had an appointment at 11, so it was right in the middle of the class, so I couldn't get on.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh well.
Well,
I'll see you in 2 weeks.
Yeah, a couple of weeks, yeah, when we get it up there. Anyway, let's take a look at what you guys sent in first. And then we'll kind of go from there. And since Bernice is here, we'll just start picking on her.
Charles, something did come through of mine. I was getting ready to say all my functions on my phone don't work, so it's hard for me to get things through.
Oh, okay. All right.
I work, the computer instructor had been working with me, but some of the functions don't work for some reason.
Okay. And this is on Zoom that they don't work, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, because we had, I think Eloise and Bob had that this morning as well. Yeah. All right. So can you see this image, Jackie?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So this is from Bernice, and this is a landscape that she was working with, and it was kind of a paint along. She's, I guess she's following somebody who is painting a very similar painting, right, Bernice?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And what else can you tell us about this?
That I worked on it a little bit more. I put the shadows on the side away from the sun, and I put a little more color on the one that's toward the sun. And I was going to ask you, since you did mention it was about raw style, is there anyone for a beginning oil painter that you think would be good for me?
Okay, you're asking me if there's something like an online video or something you could watch for oil paint?
Yeah, because this is really, I had tried to blend one time before. This is the real time I finally figured out the blending. But you said something about you could tell it was a raw style or something like that. And so I thought maybe you knew a better one that I could use as a guide.
Okay. Not right offhand, but what I'll do is I'll look around and I'll see if I can find a couple and kind of send them your way, or maybe we'll play them during the class because everybody could probably benefit from that. And particularly with how to lay color down and then blend it, and when to do that. That would be pretty helpful. There's a guy, his last name, I want to say, is like Trishan or something like that. Yeah, I'll get it for you. I'll go back because actually he did this presentation on like mediums and varnishes that I played once, and and his work, he does a lot of landscapes, and I think he'd be somebody good for you to look at. But like I said, I'll go back, I'll pull some of that material, and I'll either play the videos or send you the links on YouTube in his name. Okay.
Thank you, because I couldn't figure out why my paint wouldn't move until I figured out that it has to be a little wetter.
Yeah, right.
So as you can see, I'm a very beginner.
Yeah, that's okay. I mean, you got to start somewhere, and one of the biggest mistakes that people make early on is they don't ever get enough paint down, on the surface, and until you really do, you don't have anything to move. You don't have anything to manipulate. So, that's kind of important. And in fact,
well, speaking of getting before we go on, speaking of getting enough paint down, I ordered a set. These are very little bitty tubes. So can you tell me, for a beginner, it doesn't have to be professional, who has some nice big tubes that I can play with?
Yeah. Okay. It's Winsor Newton.
Oh, I've seen the name. Yeah. Okay.
Right. But now here's the thing. Winsor Newton has 2 different grades of oil paint. They have the Winsor Newton Professional Artist, which usually come in like the smaller, like 40, 50 milliliter tubes. But then they have their, what they call student grade, paint, and goes by a slightly different name, and it's Winton, Winton.
Okay.
And those come in like the big tubes of 200 milliliters.
Oh, okay.
And they're much cheaper, I mean, they're only about, maybe $20 a tube, okay? Versus, and they used to be more around about 11 or 12, but I've ordered them online. They're all going up to around about 20. Now, if you can get to an art store like Binders, then you'll probably only pay about, $13 or $14 for them.
Okay. And start with what colors?
Start off with your primary colors, red, yellow, and blue.
Red, yellow, and okay.
And then I would get the secondary colors, which are violet, orange, and green.
Okay.
And there's certain combinations will work better with others, but again, what I'll do is if you're interested in the Winton line, I'll send you the colors, the basic palette that we used at Benson, and that's got the specific color names and things. So it will be, your primary, your secondaries, a white, and I don't use a black. I use a raw umber. And, you can actually make a black by adding like the Prussian blue or something to it. Some kind of bluish color will get you a pretty good black. Okay.
I do it with acrylic all the time with navy blue and purple.
Okay. But navy and blue and purple, I don't know that
that's what I use for my acrylic.
Yeah, that will get you something that's dark, but it won't really get you something that's black.
Oh, okay.
But now, if you take a little bit, and I mean just a little tiny touch of orange, and put in there, with your blue, you'll probably get something that's pretty close to black.
Okay.
So you can try that. At any rate, so I'll send that to you, and that way, you'll have an idea as to what to buy. Okay. But it shouldn't be that's 8 tubes of paint. Okay.
Okay, at $20 be about what, 150, 160?
Yeah, probably. If, yeah, depending.
Okay.
I mean, about $160 if they're about $20 a piece
Okay.
online. Okay.
Okay.
And with that, you should be able to get free delivery, because of, you're over there. I think they have, like, if you get them from Jerry's, Artorama, or if you get them from Binders or Blick locally, shipping costs are, probably not that much, but I think anything over $100, and they pretty much will offer free shipping on it. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So moving on. Okay, we have Miss India Hall here, and we looked at this Friday or Wednesday maybe. And she was having a little bit of an issue, trying to get these to line up, the way she's got it in the sky. And I hadn't ever looked at the reference that she was using. And so we were trying to suggest, how to go about, making that a little bit better. And she sent me the reference finally. Is she here, India? Are you around? Maybe not.
Look at my participants.
No, she was here earlier this morning, but yeah, she's not here. Anyway, this is the actual reference. And as you can see, I can see why she painted all this stuff up, where she did. The thing that was actually off was what we kind of talked about, I think on Wednesday, which was either drop these down so that it lined up with where she had the reflection of this cloud, or this would have to come up. And here you can clearly see that it goes pretty high up in the photograph. So, maybe the thing for her to do is not really mess with this that much, but go ahead and bring that cloud forward. So again, it kind of lines up. But if you'll notice, you see it really is a mirrored image. It's just slightly distorted and kind of stretched, in the water because we've got a fairly low angle on it. But I guess we'll go more in depth, on that when she's around and she can benefit from it. Jackie sent in some things. She sent in the still life. So, and you're here. So Jackie, tell us a little bit about this. What's going on?
Well, I was trying to I'm learning how to make flowers, and I was trying to make my flowers bigger.
Okay.
And it ran off the top. I ran out of space at the top.
Okay.
I didn't know whether that was okay or not.
Yeah, I was going to ask, what's the problem with that?
Yeah. So I can't do that, right? You can't.
No, I mean, it's done all the time. Yeah, you don't have.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it depends on what you really want to be your focal point. Okay. So the question is, are the flowers the focal point? Or, is the story really more about the flowers being in this particular vase or something like that? It's sitting on a table or, whatever's happening with it.
Yeah, because I like the flowers in that particular vase.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And
I cannot make the little people on the side. That's what I'm working on. I'm going to have to get rid of those.
Okay.
Like dogs.
Well, let me ask you about that, okay? Because I can kind of see that they're like these kind of African-styled faces, because of the headdress, and the earrings and necklaces and stuff. But if they were on there, yeah, can you hold it up and show it? Okay, yeah, just as I kind of suspected, okay? If you set that vase down, right? Mm-hmm. Set it down on the table, okay, in front of you or off to the side. And then I want you to look at it and notice that those faces, they lay on that surface, right? And the surface isn't vertical, it's actually tipped backwards. So you get, a little bit of distortion, and those faces are actually kind of at an angle as they go around it. They're not straight up and down, right?
Right.
Ah, see. And the thing with the way you've got them right now, just penciled in, is they seem to be vertical. Okay, and they don't feel like they're laying down on the pot. And see, that's the tricky part, is you've got to really look at them, look at how much they're distorted, and then try to paint them so that they feel like they're actually on that surface. Okay?
Okay.
Does that make
I think.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, basically, look at the pot and paint what you see, And if it's like, if the one is closer to the edge of the pot, then you're going to see that it's at a definite angle, right? If one is like right in front of you, then it might appear to be a little more straight up and down, right?
Right.
Okay. So it just depends on where it's positioned on the pot, and then, paint them accordingly. But right now you've got them like they're standing up straight. And that's not what they do, because the surface of the pot is not perfectly working.
Okay.
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 But as far as the composition, as far as having the flowers go off the top, things like that, that's not really a problem. Okay.
Okay.
Now let's talk a little bit about. Okay. Now this is sitting on a table, right?
Right.
Okay. Is it sitting on the edge of the table?
Well, I didn't mean, well,
Close to the edge.
I didn't even think about that. I just put it on a table.
Right. Okay. But again.
But I see what you're saying. If it's in the middle of the table, I need to come up more with the green, right?
Right. Yeah. You need to raise that up so that it feels like it's actually sitting on that surface. Now, if let's say that the table was at your eye level, right?
Yeah.
Then that top line of the table might actually be, where you've placed it, right? Okay, but what that's saying is that your eye level is really pretty low in there, and the way that you've drawn the pot with the ellipse that you have on it looks like you're a little bit above it of that. So that means that your tabletop has to come up. Say.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense.
Okay. So what I want you to do is, put that, put your pot back on the table, back on the table or whatever, wherever you were painting it, and really look at where you see the edge of that table meeting, that pot. Is it really up on the side? Is it way down, below? Where does that set? And, the reason you're seeing it that way is because of where you are, and whether you're at the same level as the pot or up above the pot or below the pot. And that's going to, kind of determine where that, we would call it the horizon line, in the painting, really sits. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So, yeah, you got, it kind of goes back to this thing of you seem to be painting what you think, instead of really looking and making good observations about, where things actually kind of fit together. Okay.
Okay.
So, and then you have this piece. Okay.
Yeah.
So tell us about that.
Well, what I did was I took the pumps out and I put a horse here. I thought I had sent that one, a more recent one. I changed it a little bit. That's my car coming down the road and past this farmhouse. And I put a horse here on the right. Oh, doesn't look that good. And I have a house over here, and it's a night, a dusk scene, you know.
You have a horse
Dark.
on the right?
Yeah, I put a horse, but I didn't send that. I guess
Oh.
that one didn't come through.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, the horse is grazing on the right,
So-
but I couldn't get the trees. I can't get the trees to show up good on the left because it's almost dark, and the trees show up very dark.
Mhm. Okay, so I got a couple questions about this piece. All right. One, are you doing this kind of like out of your head, your imagination?
No, I'm trying to make it different from the painting that I saw my instructor do.
Ah, okay. So you're following along. This is a painting that somebody's doing. Okay.
Right, but I did my own changes. I put my own trees in the house here on the left. I had to make it my own.
Okay, and you can do that. Okay, but just like with your vase of flowers, right?
Right,
This is a landscape, right?
right.
And so you have to kind of figure out where are you going to be in relation to all the other things around you. And again, it's going to determine where that horizon line is, in your painting. Now, the way you have it right now, it seems like you're kind of hovering in the air up above most of this stuff.
It does look like I'm looking down on it.
It does. Okay. And so was that intentional, or do you want to be on the ground, or where do you want to be?
No, I kind of like looking down on it.
You kind of like looking down. Okay. And that's fine. Okay. But now if you are in fact up above looking down, which you could be, I mean, you could be, up in like the upper story of a barn or a building or something like that, right? You could be on a farm, and you might get a view that's pretty similar, to what you're looking at, right?
Right.
But, okay, the thing is, if that's the case, then that means that you have to figure out the perspective on the buildings and the people and your car and everything else. And also, you've got to get that road. It looks like a very short road. See? And the reason it looks like a very short road is that the width of the road here at the bottom, which is the area closest to us, is not really all that much different than the road back here, which is supposed to be fairly far away from us, right?
So I need to make it smaller back here.
Yeah, if you want it to go back in distance, yeah, it's going to diminish. Okay.
Okay.
And so this is probably, at this stage, what I would kind of recommend that you do is, in fact, just set this painting aside, okay? And then get out your sketchbook, and I want you to look at landscapes, okay?
Okay.
Like photographs of landscapes and stuff, and particularly anything that's from a view up above, okay, rather than at eye level. And I want you to just sketch in your sketchbook, the landscapes that you're seeing that are up above, and particularly anything with like houses or buildings or anything like that in it. And I'll try to look around for some examples of stuff like that, and maybe send them your way so that you have something to look at. But what you're grappling with right now is you've got this idea of this landscape that you want to paint, and you're dealing with like the actual landscape itself, all the elements in there, and at the same time you're trying to get the effect of a particular time of day. And the basic problem is that you don't really understand the perspective issues right now that are involved in that, and so you need to kind of look at that very carefully and begin to figure that out. Okay.
Oh,
So I think a sketchbook and making, looking for some reference where you're up above, kind of, like in an upper part of a building. Do you live like in an apartment building or something, or
yes.
have you got it's a multi-story apartment building?
Yeah. 4 stories.
4 stories, okay. So here's what I want you to do. Do you happen to have a deck on the roof of that apartment building?
No, but there's a patio. Yeah.
Okay.
There's an outside patio that's up on the 2nd floor.
2nd floor, yeah. You need to get higher. You need to go up to the 4th floor.
Oh, okay.
Is there a stairwell or landing that you can look out from? That's
Yes, yes.
okay. So at some point, maybe today, tomorrow, whatever,
Mm.
go up to that 4th floor level, okay?
Okay.
And, go stand up there and then look down into the parking lot and across at some of the other buildings and just see what happens, with how those buildings begin to look and the perspective and the distortion that you see, because of perspective, right?
Right.
A very, just take your sketchbook with you and try to sketch some of that and get the feel of it. And I think you'll get a good understanding of what you might actually see, in a situation like you're trying to paint. Okay?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And making observations like that in life and taking the time to really look at it and figure it out, those are always really good lessons, that you can, take from, and then, you'll know where to apply them, later on. Okay.
Okay.
So,
That'll be good experience. Yeah. Okay.
okay. I mean, if you were at Benson, with some of my drawing classes and stuff, we take tours of the building and look at perspective and angles, and we go outside and do the same thing, so that you get a pretty good understanding of how perspective works. And in fact, you can see a little bit of it right here. You sent me this photograph of the fountain in Marietta Square, right?
Right. I sent a drawing too, but that may not have come through.
Wow.
I was trying to draw the fountain, and it is really hard to get that round look.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you've got to have the ellipses correct. And again, the issue is perspective, because and all perspective is about, Jackie, is it puts you in the picture, where you are in relationship to everything else. So like in looking at this photograph, right?
Mm-hmm.
What I can tell you is you were probably standing up, right? And your eye level is probably about right here, on the fountain.
I was really sitting on a bench, but I could stand up.
Well, I mean, yeah, but you were in that part, and you can see, you were definitely, that bench was higher up enough so that you could actually see into, the fountain, because it's got a fairly open ellipse.
Right.
But then when you get to about, this point, see all those ellipses that are kind of running around, and you could kind of look into, like, end about right here. And then right here, it becomes almost a straight line across the fountain, right?
Right.
And then as it goes up, you see all of a sudden, they begin curving the other direction. And that's because from that point forward, they're above your eye level. From this point down, they're below your eye level. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And then the same thing is true kind of with the buildings. I know it's kind of subtle, but can you notice how this building here, the tip of this, is a little bit higher than this corner right here?
Yes.
Right. See, it's not running straight horizontal. It's actually running at an angle, right?
Right.
And then so is this one. See, this is lower than the point over here, right?
Right.
Okay. And the reason for that, again, this is what we would kind of call a one-point perspective, right? Because you're really looking at almost a single vanishing point.
Okay.
For the fountain.
Find it.
But then the buildings, because they're not perfectly perpendicular or whatever, are really kind of running at what we call a two-point perspective. Okay? So you've got two different vanishing points. One way over here, one way over there. Okay. And so, what happens is that everything like on this side, the fronts of these buildings are all going to converge to a vanishing point way over here. Right. And so all the windows and everything will line up the rooftop. Anything, if these buildings are all about the same sizes, they're all going to have, or the tops of them are all going to sit along that line. Same thing is true here because these are all about two-story buildings and they're all about the same height. Same thing's going to happen. This is going to have a vanishing point way over here. See? And so everything is going to line up from that one single point. Okay? And that's going to help you get the size relationships and height, correct, so that it looks like this end of the building is closer to you than the corner down here. Same thing here. This end is closer to us than the corner down there.
Oh, I see what you're saying. They're going to go in like this, the vanishing point, just like that road.
Uh-huh. Yep. Same thing.
On the side. Okay.
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 All right. So, see, that's the thing about doing any kind of like an interior of a room, or if you're doing any kind of architecture, you have to really look at it and begin to understand the perspective, and that I know, that whole thing about perspective is a scary thing to most people taking, early art classes, but it's something you need to begin to understand. And you can do it mechanically, but just learning to look for those angles and then to try to get those angles right is really the better way of doing it, because you're not going to have time all the time to sit there and draw out a grid and, figure out where those vanishing points are. And most of the time in situations like this, the vanishing points aren't going to be on the canvas. They're going to be a couple of feet, over to the left or the right of where your canvas is. So really just measuring the angles and getting those down is kind of the ideal way of doing it. Okay.
Oh, okay.
All right. We'll talk.
I think that's a great photo that she submitted for.
I'm gonna see if I can find the drawing. Is that it at the bottom? No, that's not it.
No, it's not.
Okay.
No, that's Rebecca's hand.
Okay.
Where's this picture taken at, this photo?
Up in the Marietta Square.
Marietta Square. Oh, okay. It's
Right.
a great photo for perspective.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And eclipses.
Yeah. Well,
I'm back drawing in my sketchbook, so maybe at the end I can show it to you what I did.
Yeah. What actually would have made this a really great photo is if she had backed up a little bit more and she got the whole fountain in there with the this fountain sits, in a park, and then in the it's got a wall that goes all the way around it in a circle.
Oh, I see that. Yes. Uh-huh.
And if she would have backed up, you could have seen the curve of the wall and everything. And there's a little, there's like a little kiosk or gazebo or whatever, a little performance area here over to the right. You can just see the edge of it, and
yes,
elevated. And they have bands and things like that come up there and speakers. And one event that they had a plein air event in Marietta once upon a time, and yours truly painted the Strand Theater from up on top of that, little platform up there, because it was a rainy day and I wanted to stay out of the rain. It was a nice covered area, so that worked out okay for me. you know, that's a nice area to go, you know, sketch and draw. And there's always, you know, people sitting on the benches and stuff. So, you know.
Yeah, I drew a lady and her dog sitting on the bench,
Mhm.
but it went some reason it went to my email instead of yours.
Oh, okay.
All the pictures, my email.
Okay. Well, send them to my email. Okay. And-
Okay.
okay. So moving on, we got John. Okay, and John did this cityscape.
Wow.
Nice.
And here we are, you know, talking or, you know, dealing with perspective. But you can kind of see how these go back in space, you know, and you can just kind of follow them back. And it feels kind of like they're, you know, this building is further away than this building. You know that, right?
Yeah.
And the way you know it is because, one, size relationship. This looks much bigger. But and you also know that they're all kind of sitting, you know, parallel or perpendicular to each other, right? So that they line up, and the rooftops are about the same height, and so see they go back in space. So all of that works pretty well. I guess
It really is difficult trying to get the right perspective when you got a group of buildings like that. It was a challenge.
Oh yeah, it is. And the thing is, John, okay, and I guess my question to you would be, is when I'm looking at this, all right, I'm guessing our eye level is somewhere down here. And you did this from a photograph, right? Or did you do
Right. Yeah, no, right, correct.
Okay. Because when I'm looking at this, it's like, okay, so if our eye level is here, you're somewhere across the water or out on the water looking at these buildings, right? And most of the perspective on these look pretty good, you know, because again, you know, as these get taller, you know, you're going to have more of an extreme angle on that top edge up there. Now, the thing about it is you've got the perspective coming from the left-hand side, you know, but then when you go to the right, you've squared everything off and made it all kind of level, and that can't be. You know, they would also okay.
They would slant downward to the right. Is that what it would do?
Yeah, just slightly, you know, maybe, but they're going to have some angle. They're not going to be horizontal. They cannot be. Okay. So yeah, you might want to look at that a little more carefully. Okay. You know, and then the same thing kind of going on here.
Right.
Like these seem to kind of drop below your eye level or even below the horizon line for some reason.
I knew that something didn't look right over there.
Yeah. So my thought is that these are up higher, about right here, that the building starts, and then there would be more water, or yeah, probably more water. You know, as the is this a lake, a river? What is? You know,
I think it's more like a lake, and maybe even man-made. The photograph had more calm water. I had trouble with the reflections and the real calm water. It was almost mirrored. So I modeled it up.
Okay. So you would have seen the buildings being reflected down in this, right?
Right.
Yeah, which you don't really get here.
No, correct.
Wow, okay. All right. So here, you know, and I'm not telling you what to do, okay? But, you know, after our conversation here, I guess, and this is watercolor, right?
Yes.
Okay. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to take a pencil, like a number 2 pencil, you know, something that's a little bit harder than a lot of drawing pencils, and just very lightly, you know, the first thing is put your eye level, your horizon line in, and then, you know, begin to figure out where the buildings are. You know, just lightly pencil them in and get those angles before you start, you know, painting your watercolor. And then the same thing with the reflection, you know, figure out, okay, you know, I mean, drop this building straight down and you're going to see a reflection in here. You know, same thing here, you know, you're going to see a reflection that mirrors this. So it's just going to be upside down. So, you know,
I tried to bring the buildings in because in the photograph had some reflection of the buildings plus the lighting and from the windows and things, and I struggled on that.
yeah. Well, doing, you know, any kind of modern building can, you know, depending on the time of the day, can be really, really challenging because, you know, if it's, you know, if it's during the day, you know, most of these have some kind of like darkened glass on them, and they almost act like mirrors, and they'll reflect everything around it.
Yeah, that was supposedly what that building was supposed to be there.
Yeah. And then if it's like early in the morning before sunrise or right after sunset, then you've got all the windows lit up because the lights have come on in the buildings. They're all illuminated. So yeah, those can always be really, really challenging to deal with. But you just have to take your time, really look at them. But the main thing is you got to get your perspective right. And, you know, we've talked about this a few different times, but again, the thing to remember about perspective is the purpose of it is that it tells you and the viewer of your artwork where you are in relationship to all those other objects in the paint, right? And that's why it's important to try to get that correct, because otherwise it kind of feels like the world is, you know, sliding off on one side. Or maybe that you spent a little too much time in the bar and you've just come out in the world.
That'd be more like it. Yeah.
A little a kilter to you.
All right.
You know, and we're not here to advocate such things.
No, correct.
So, you know, stay home. You know, don't drink and drive. Right.
Right.
Anyway, is Rebecca here? Rebecca Pickman? No.
I just have one question for you. So I should try to draw into the water the straight lines of the building, or should I leave this alone and start new?
Well, yeah, I wouldn't do anything to this. I would, again, kind of start over and then really establish where your eye level is, you know, that
right.
And then begin to figure out perspective from there. Okay. Because here's one of the things that, you know, and I wish I could just turn this just a little bit, because you need to kind of raise this about 5 degrees up to about right here. So the bottom of the buildings, you know, begin to feel like, you know, the bottoms of buildings feel like they're going uphill for some reason, rather than coming toward you more. And it may be that this is a raised bank or something. We can't see the bottom of the building, whatever. But right now, it kind of feels like all of this is kind of running downhill, you know. And it shouldn't, you know. It should like it's, you know, on your.
It should be even straight across.
Pardon?
It should be even straight across.
Yeah, you know, if your eye level is about here, then the bottom of those buildings are, you know, they're going to kind of either be below that horizon line, see, because again, you know, if you're standing on the street level, your eye level is over where those bottoms, you know, the bottom of the building or the foundation of the bottom of the building meets, you know, the ground. So
yeah,
running downhill this way.
So Charles, where are you saying his eye level is then?
Well, I think it's kind of about, you know, like right here. See these 2 little white marks right here?
Yeah. Is that part of the vanishing point?
Yeah, that's kind of where, well, on a 1-point perspective, that's where the vanishing point would go. Now, John is actually dealing with really kind of 2-point perspective here. But still the horizon line's not going to move. But everything has to come, you know, all these points eventually have to come down to that line somewhere. And right now they don't.
But if those are little hedges and bushes there,
Mm-hmm.
you wouldn't see the horizon line, but it would still be there.
Yeah, it would at somewhere along the line, you're going to see it. So I
You
guess
just have to raise the bushes, right?
no, in fact, you probably drop this so you get more of an angle, you know, even to this, you know, so
Oh,
it's coming forward. I'll tell you what, you know, I'll kind of take John's watercolor and I'll do a little pencil sketch, you know, putting in the horizon line and the angles and stuff. So maybe we'll come back Wednesday and take a look at this and I'll compare it. In the meantime, John, you can work on it as well. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
All right.
And don't forget the little bushes there. If it's John, do you have the reference on this?
Yeah. Send me the reference photo for that too, if you don't.
Okay. Okay.
That'd be good. Then we can see what the photo says.
Yeah, that way we can kind of, yeah, we can talk from a more informed place rather than doing what I did with India, which is, you know, kind of talk blindly without looking at the reference. So Rebecca is not here. And so I just want to give you an update. I worked on Maria a little bit more. And so what I did is, you know, I put in the some of the trim work, you know, the woodwork, you know, in around the windows and the chair railing and stuff like that. And, you know, that took a couple of hours all by itself.
Very colorful. Jeez.
Well, it's beginning to come together. Yeah. But, you know, I've got to get out my T-square and stuff and make sure that all these lines are running level. They're not, you know, they seem to be a little kind of uneven. So
What is the little green mark on the chair railing?
well, that's a good question. That's something, well, again, you know, I'm taking this from that painting that Klimt did, Lady in Gold. And he had kind of a little bluish, dark bluish square and a green square over there on the left side of the composition. Now, whether I'm going to leave those there or not, I don't know. Again, you know, I'm trying not to totally change everything in it, but I'm trying not to copy him exactly either. So I was looking at those the other day, and I'm kind of going back and forth, you know, as to whether I'll leave those there. I mean, I've improvised enough now that it's like my chair is three-dimensional, his is flat, you know. I've put a table with a piece of fabric that's draped under the chair and a vase of flowers and a set of windows behind her that weren't there. And, you know, so, hello.
Charles,
Yeah.
the vase of flowers, why is that kind of like a very firm outline?
Because I wanted to kind of treat it more like a graphic shape. Again, it's this thing with, you know, that Klimt painting of he flattened certain things out and other things, you know, he kept more dimensional. And that's kind of what I'm struggling with this is, you know, how much do I want to flatten things out, or what do I want to make actually three-dimensional? And so, you know, I like the idea of having it in a clean, simple shape. And how, you know, whether that stays that way or not, I'm not quite sure yet. I'm kind of working through it. So, you know, but the initial idea was that it's a more graphic treatment of it. And I guess what kind of threw me off is I made the clean, simple shape, and I was kind of thinking that I would treat the flowers more like a decorative pattern, but then I ended up painting them looking like flowers, you know, and more dimensional. So, you know, that doesn't seem to be the best choice for that. You know, so I'm kind of dealing with that right now. So the easy thing for me to do right now is to just get rid of the hard outline and go ahead and let some of the flowers come outside or break inside of it with the window. And I may end up doing that at some point. So it's all experimental. We're just playing with it. Yeah.
Now, I'm looking at the bottom of the chair and that carpet there. You got beautiful stuff. The carpet, the two different ones. Is it look like her foot is kind of like on the edge of the step? Is that like stepping, or is that all supposed to be that flat? Am I looking at it wrong?
No, there's like a rail back here in the chair that are on. It's not up here at the front, it's back up under the chair slightly. And again, that's still got to be worked out right in there, how I'm going to treat that. I thought about in fact, I did get rid of it, pretty much I painted over it. And now it just kind of looks like you're not really sure whether her toe is on the ground or not. And so, again, I got to figure that one out, keep playing with it. So yeah, there's a lot of things, on this that I'm still trying to figure out as I go along.
It's good to know you struggle as we struggle.
Oh yeah. Well, that's why I'm showing you this, because it's like, this is one of these things, I had an idea for, and I, did a couple of sketches, and then I started, putting things down, and then I started improvising and putting different elements and things in. And so, it's, I generally call these a Frankenstein. Okay. And the reason I call them a Frankenstein is because you're taking, different elements from, different images or, different situations, and you're trying to piece it together rather than sitting there and painting something from life. And so trying to get all of that to work together, not always so easy. So, yeah. Just like, trying to figure out this dress, which, I liked the dress, and I had the reference for a dress that was similar to this, not exactly, but similar. And the transparency of it, but then I'm trying to put it on a model who's seated rather than standing up. So, again, it's, I'm creating headaches for myself, but that's okay.
Yes.
This is kind of, it's, this is kind of just a fun project. It's something I've been wanting to do for a while. And so, now I'm getting around to playing with it and, trying to see how smart I really am and whether I can, work my way through this. And,
Are you learning anything?
God, yeah. Yeah, lots of things. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's the thing, it's like, trying to learn how to paint a translucent fabric over skin,
Yes.
and to get that translucency, and try to figure out,
Yes.
how would that line lay across her rib cage down to her abdomen and things. It's not going to be a line that's straight up and down. And the same thing with it, laying across her thigh. And how much is it really going to curve? And there's a lot to think about.
How much time did it take you to do the fabric for the chair? Because you got all those little designs in there and everything in various colors and.
Yeah, probably no more than about 3 to 4 hours.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, the hard part was figuring out, where are you going to put the shapes? And then, I mean, once you kind of got that figured out, then it began to kind of come together.
Now, did you maybe sketch a chair with various shapes in it as to give you some sense of what it'll look like and as a guide, and then did it on canvas?
I did it, in my initial pen sketch.
Okay.
And you see, when you look at the painting that Klimt did, he had a lot of these textures and things back there. And so I just borrowed the same kind of graphics from different parts of that painting and incorporated them into my painting. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So that's where I came up with a lot of that stuff. You know, so I'm borrowing, you know, and stealing whatever I can from him. You know, I'm sure he's not going to object too much at this point. So,
Well,
anyway.
you know, when we have a chance, I'll tell you about the dots that I put together about the gentleman that did Obama's portrait of him sitting in the garden. I saw a painting like that, was a portrait like that, not a photo like that, early on back in the day, and it came out in the documentary. But I'll tell you that later. I don't want to change the subject right now.
Okay. Yeah, he was in that documentary piece we watched this morning. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, with that particular painting. So.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other piece I wanted to share with you was this. I went back in and I made some more modifications and changes to it. Before, this area right here, you know, it kind of ran up here and met the top of her hand, and then you got this dark area. It didn't seem to make sense to me, so I dropped that down. And then I went back in here, and it's like I had some strong darks, like in between the leaves on these lilies, or what are these? These aren't lilies, these are daffodils. Okay, but over here in the space between her legs, there was no real dark, and it seemed lighter overall. So I went back in there and kind of punched in some dark so it would be a little more consistent across the bottom. And then there was some funny stuff going on in the modeling up here in her shoulder. And so I went and I softened that back a little bit and kind of unified it a little bit so it doesn't bother me as much now. So anyway, you know, this is what I would officially call done. And so it's drying, and then I'll varnish it at some point.
This is early morning, early spring.
Yeah, this is like a early morning spring, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And
I like how you did the back there. It looks like a screen over it, but it's really, I guess, to show the dew of the morning, or like a little fog or something.
Yeah, you know, it's like a kind of a misty early spring morning. You know, most women would not be out running around naked, you know, because it would probably be a little cool, you know. But hey.
and a little buggy. Bees might be floating around pollinating those flowers.
Yeah, maybe early in the morning for them before the bees all came out. So maybe that's why she's out there running around that way, you know.
You know, she's obviously on the east side of the house or something. I have tulip trees like that with just a branch and some daffodils also. And this time of year that is happening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This last couple of weeks that is happening now. Mm-hmm. No green on the tree, just the beautiful flowers.
Yeah, blossoms. Yeah. Now this is a tree that's here in the neighborhood. It's a quince, and that's kind of where I got those flowers from. Okay. And the daffodils are out there in my yard and all over our neighborhood. And as far as where east and west is, where the light is over here, that would be east.
East, yes, then east.
Heading toward the right would be the west. So we're basically looking south, I guess. Yeah, kind of she's facing south. She's facing south, yes. So anyway.
The light is coming from the east, yes.
Yeah. So anyway. Pardon?
It passed that test. What can I say? Look at that work from a professional who doesn't mix up the day and night.
Yeah, let's not do that. Let's not mix up day and night. But anyway, you know, I mean, you know, to have, you know, just a little something pop in your head. And I guess I worked on this probably about 4 or 5 days off and on, you know. And it's not real big. It's like about a 16 by 20. But probably,
that's nice.
Yeah, probably what I'll do with this, because I really like the image, is at some point, you know, in all of my infinite and spare time that I have, I'm probably going to do this much larger,
Oh,
you know.
yeah.
So this would be sort of the initial idea, and then I'll take it, I'll make it bigger. Okay. So
Very nice.
anyway, so that's all the paintings from you guys and from me that I have to share. And I guess, let's see, what time is it? It's 3 o'clock. Wow. Okay, so we actually spent a whole hour. Let's see.
Charles, can I ask you one question?
Just one? Okay.
Can you see my horse on the side? I found the
Not, yeah, kind of a little bit. Yeah, kind of a little bit now. Yeah. Pull back, 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 back. Yeah. There you go. Okay. Now you're a little more in focus. Okay. Yeah, I see him by the side of the road now. Okay.
Can you tell if he needs to be bigger or smaller?
Well, he's a huge horse in comparison to your car.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, he's about the size of a prehistoric mammoth.
Oh my God.
In comparison to your car.
All right. I see what you're saying. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, if you had to scale, you know, your Toyota, you know, whatever that is, you know, up to that horse would probably be, you know, a good 10 or 12 feet tall.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I see.
So,
Uh-huh.
all right. Let's see what to do. All right, indulge me for a little while. I'm not going to play this video because the video is like 56 minutes long. We don't need to be here another hour. But what I am going to do is I've been wanting to show these to you guys for a while. And this is from an artist. His name is Evan Wilson. Okay. And I've known Evan for about the last 4 or 5 years. You know, not really known him, but I've met him virtually on Facebook, and he and I share comments and ideas and things on each other's paintings on a fairly regular basis. But I really I took a little bit of time, really looked at a fair amount of his work and gathered things together. And he does some really, really nice figurative stuff and landscapes. And, you know, overall, I mean, he's a really, really good, competent painter. And so I wanted to share some of what he did with you guys. And that'll probably take us about 20 minutes to a half hour. And so I think that's probably a good thing, you know, with the time that we have. So can everybody see the ducks?
Yeah.
Okay. Whoop. Okay. That's not what we wanted. Okay.
Can you make it bigger?
Yeah, I can. I'm just grabbing.
Oh, I have to put it up after class.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So, you know, he's got a couple of ducks, and he's got a you know, a duck collar, you know, whatever that thing is. They make, you know, duck sounds with. Duck hunters use them. And, you know, it's a pretty nice painting. It's kind of fashioned after, you know, like a mid-century or early American trump oil. And so, you know, he's not quite that tight, you know, and photographic about it, but, you know, still really nicely done. Very kind of nice painterly way. Like his use of color and you know, just the way he kind of uses the paint. You know, he throws a lot more paint down than I do. And I'm trying to get to the point where I get more paint down on the canvas. You know, this is him out in the field, you know, kind of just doing a study. I feel bad for the model who has to stand in the water, but it might be a nice hot day, so you know, he may be pretty comfortable in there. But you can see, you know, he's working on a French easel, and I haven't figured out quite how he's getting a canvas that big on a French easel. My French easel won't carry anything quite that large. But again, he's painting from life. He's laying in, the different shapes and colors and things. And it looks like he's working on a linen canvas, not a white canvas. This is him out there playing with the camera. Out there from the other view, So now he's out in the water, and he's got his box in the water. I've done that. What I can tell you about sticking your box in the middle of the creek is it's really not a great idea, okay? Unless you have metal legs, because this being wood, a day or two after I stuck mine in there and stood out there for a couple of hours, I couldn't get my legs to retract because the wood had all swollen up. And it took a couple of weeks, actually, for it to all dry out and for me to actually get it to where it would go back and forth again. So I don't recommend, doing that.
What you do is you paint it in polyurethane before you do that, and then the water won't absorb through the polyurethane.
Okay.
You want to do that again?
Well, that might be an idea. Okay. Yeah, we've got to find some way of not letting water get into the wood. And the thing is, it's they've put a sealed surface over the wood, but with it being in there for a couple of hours, it just kind of soaked through.
Get some Ziploc bags and insert the legs in a plastic bag.
There you go. Yeah, you wrap trash bags or something around it and tape them. Yeah, that might help. Here is, this is fairly typical of some of the paintings that he does. And again, it's got a really nice feel for getting fabrics and textures and patterns, rendering forms. He's very good at all that stuff. And a good sense of light and shadow, controlling value and stuff like that. So, really like a lot of his figurative stuff. And he does really, this is kind of small, but I'll try to blow it up. And the problem,
fabric is beautiful.
Those look like photographs.
The fabric, I tell you.
almost. Yeah, he and I kind of have that in common. We both like fabric and how
Yes.
patterns and stuff. Yeah.
That takes a lot of work.
Yeah, he's a little better at it than I am, but
And you can see it in the chest, the shiny chest.
Yeah, the light and the values and stuff. Yeah, he's got a good sense of light, and like if you look at the rendering of the folds and the fabric in here.
Oh, yeah.
And the difference you can tell that it's actually a piece of satin and it's more reflective than this.
Wow. Man.
Well, he's really detailed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So,
That's beautiful. Look at her hair. Her hair.
Yeah.
The light's hitting her hair.
Yeah, he's got some nice stuff, even sort of the lacing and the pattern, on the fabric. And the thing is, he's very good at getting it convincingly to move around the forms and shapes, so that it feels like it's laying, across something, which is not always easy to do, Same thing here. Again, really nice sense for the reflectiveness of the metallic kind of material, the hair, skin tones.
Oh, good. Thank you.
What is he finding? Those beautiful. It looks like a kimono.
It is, yeah. He, well, like me, he'll order them from Japan. You can. There are quite a few sites now where they're getting harder and harder to find these antique kimonos. They usually run about $100. But how many do you need? You only need like 2 or 3 of them. But you can get some really, really beautiful stuff. You know, but you know, you got to look around, kind of find, you know, what you're looking for. But now,
does that distract from,
I'm sorry, what was
does
that?
that distract from the focal point?
No, not really. I mean, if you kind of, you know, just look, you know, just open your eyes slowly and see where your eye goes. You know, pretty much so. You know, I kind of come in and go right this way, you know, into here. And then I kind of go back down the arm and, you know, and you just kind of move around in it. Notice, you know, he's got, the kimono runs all the way off the edge of the page, right? But notice what happens with the light. You see, he's got, you know, the light really focused in, you know, on really the center left, or the center right of the canvas. And then as you move to the left, what happens? The light falls off and it gets darker, right? So things move back and they kind of recede, you know, and then letting this area come forward for you. So again, you know, it's that controlling the light is really critical, you know, to make some of this stuff work. You know,
So I was going to ask you, how much detail would you do when you were doing your pencil sketch of the one that you just had before? Because the material had lots of designs.
Somebody else.
Would you do the design? Would you do the pencil sketch in detail, or just make a reference as to what that little those different designs are?
Yeah, probably wouldn't do that much detail in the drawing phase of it. Okay, I would probably wait when I started painting it. You know, then I might, you know, take a little bit of time and really kind of figure out, you know, that whole path before I started blocking everything in. So you're really drawing more with a brush on the canvas. You could probably do it in pencil and seal it, and, you know, and then just kind of, you know, fill in the shapes, which is pretty much, I think, what he does, you know, as far as his patterns and things go. You know, but they take an awful lot of time. And, you know, it's like anything else. It's like, it's not a race, you know, you just, you know, you keep working on it until you get what you want. So, but, you know, the thing with it's really kind of the elements that he uses and the control of the light that are really outstanding with his work. And, you know, these are all kind of figurative pieces, you know,
Wow.
so far.
Beautiful.
Yeah, really, you know, just really a nice color, you know. There's a lot of color there, but it's really well managed, you know, so that it really works. This is really a sweet piece. This is his wife and his baby. And again, you know, just, you know, the texture and the pattern, you know, across the cloth, and then you've got the two figures and the focal point, and that little trail of light right there that kind of leads you in and draws your eye, you know, right here to the figures. So,
Is the baby's head a little big?
yeah, well,
Baby's heads are big.
yeah, but yeah, it's propped up on mom's arm. And when you look at the size of mom's hand to baby head, it feels about right to me.
And the baby's hand is tiny.
Yeah. You know.
Babies have big heads anyway.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're little space aliens. You know.
At that age. Yeah.
Really nice, again, you know, really nice sense of light and the movement, you know, the fabric, you know, kind of blowing in the wind.
He's good.
We looked at that one. Okay, let's look at this one. I'm kind of disappointed, you know, a lot of these that you download are like tiny little images. I've seen this painting before, and I wish I could get a really good photo of it, because the thing that's really amazing about this is it's like the transparency of the light coming through the dress, you know, the lighting on her face, you know, everything is just really, really nice in this. Really the way he managed the colors. And this is kind of a pixelated image, but it's about the best I could get. Yeah, again.
So a lot of these were obviously posed paintings.
Yeah.
That somebody posed. Yeah.
Right. Well, he has his wife, you know, pose for like a lot of these interior scenes. But, you know, just getting the glassware and the light reflected on the tables, you know, all the different elements in there. There's really a lot there to work with. This is kind of fun, the barbershop. You know, again, you know, this is such a small image of it, but, you know, you get a really nice sense of the light. Another one of those figures of his wife with wearing a kimono, just the shorter version of it.
Absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
So. But, you know, in doing things like this, you know, I mean, we're, you know, we've all been locked, you know, basically in our houses, and, you know, just day-to-day images, you know, the person that you're kind of around, you know, I mean, they become, you know, a good subject. You know, this is a beautiful painting, and it's very reminiscent. I'm trying to think, I've seen a composition kind of like this, and I want to say it's like one of either Voltaire's or Voltaire's paintings, you know, that's fairly similar to this, but just really nice kind of contrast with the light shadow. Let's see, I'm gonna move a little faster here if I can, you know. Let's see, blow this up a little bit.
How do you spell that last name? W-I-L-L-S?
Wilson, W-I-L.
Yeah,
S-O-N, okay.
He looks sort of like Whistler's mother.
Yeah. Yeah. Other than she's playing, I don't know, what is that called? A recorder or something like that?
Flute.
I think so, yeah.
A flute.
Yeah.
Like a flute.
Yeah, some sort of flute, but it's, I think they have a name. I think it's called a recorder.
Oh. Oh, that's gorgeous.
Yeah. Yeah, a really nice sense of, you know, again, you know, perspective, right? You know, the depth of field. And again, you know, here you kind of feel like, you know, your eye level is really kind of right, maybe just a little above, you know, her head, right about in there. So you get a good sense of where you are, you know, as the viewer or the artist, you know, in comparison to, you know.
But if the eye level is above her head, is right here at the top of her head, the men are cut off.
Yeah, but they're sitting down.
Oh, that's right.
They're not standing up. She's the only person really standing. And so what that says is that he's a little bit taller than she is. So it's really the eye level kind of falls right about it. You know, again, you know, beautiful fabric, you know, somebody's running a little heavy there, you know, obviously a little pregnant. Okay, how many people want to go paint something like that?
Wow.
Too many objects.
Any kind of excuse.
There we go.
We're still challenged with our vase of flowers. Now you want us to do apples and a wine decanter too.
With a vase of flowers and, you know, all the background, the whole shoot match. Yeah, again, you know, and if you look at this really carefully,
This is spring.
and where does your eye go? Yeah. It's really like right in here.
Yeah, mine went to the vase in the middle.
To the vase.
Uh-huh.
But it's really all these objects right here. If you'll notice that all of these are pretty sharp, right? All the edges and everything. And even with the vase, you know, very sharp. But then as you begin to move up into the flowers, what happens? See, it begins to get just slightly softer edges out here. Same thing with the chairs over here, you know, underneath. You know, all of that begins to get softer, but you're really from the edge of this table right here up to about right here. It's like this area is all in focus. Everything else outside that is just blurred, just slightly.
Does it also depend on the viewer's perspective or the viewer's personal interest? Because I looked at the piano first.
Oh, did you? Yeah, you see, I didn't even look at the piano. You know, I went to the, you know, all the reflective surfaces and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, all those sharper edges, and then everything back here, it's just kind of, it's back there, but, you know, it's, to me, it's not that important because my eye doesn't really, you know, go back there and
That's why.
Maybe that's why you're looking.
Pardon?
Well, if you want one, you can have one.
Okay.
All right. Just let us know when it happens, but it can't happen.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I'm going to try
Yes.
to find one with a little bit bigger image so that we can kind of zoom in on it a little bit. I think most of these are pretty small. Yeah.
Are these small paintings, do you think?
No, it's just the image. You know, it's the resolution of the image when you download them. Like this is a much higher resolution, so you know it comes out to be a much bigger image. But again, you know, and this is a nocturne, and of course, you know, he's played with the idea of showing some of the stars. You probably wouldn't see, well, you definitely wouldn't see them if you still saw light on the horizon line. That would come much later. But again, you know, he's got this really nice sense of look, you know, how the road pulls you in. You know,
Yes.
you know where the horizon line is. It's right there, you know, right along in there. And so everything he moves backwards, right? And that's the same thing, John, you know, we were talking about your water, you know, and your water line and the buildings and everything. And
Right.
And that's the feeling you want to get. It's kind of this V shape, you know, with everything moving, you know, back. So, you know, really taking the time, you know, kind of figuring that out and getting, you know, getting that right is kind of important because that's the feel you want. You know, you want the feeling of those buildings in your painting that were over to the left side. You want them feeling, you know, further away and sinking backward.
I know the feeling, it's just achieving it.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that's always the problem, John, is yes.
Yes, right.
What we're seeing in our head versus what comes out there on the canvas, right? Or
Uh-huh. Right.
Yep. That is the struggle, isn't it? You know.
Yes, it is.
But my interpretation for that is my mind is writing checks that my body cannot cash.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find something a little bigger, yeah, like this. So you know, I mean, you've got a subject there that you know would drive most people crazy, and this looks more like a alla prima, you know, kind of a plein air painting because it's pretty loose and not as finished as a lot of his stuff. But you know, just notice, see when he put down the brush strokes, you know, he just layered that paint in there, but he's got it moving, you know, in the direction that the petal would move in, you know, kind of creating that illusion on top of something that was much softer and looser. And so you really just kind of popped that up a little bit and made it dimensional. And, you know, did he paint every leaf? No. You know, he gave you just enough in there to say, okay, these are leaves. And then when he got back over in here, say, not so much. Okay. Just kind of nice layered paint in there and left it alone.
Well, I guess that's part of the hard part, is that background, how not to go into too much detail on the background.
Yeah, I mean, that's why you've got to kind of really plan these out. When, even if you went outdoors to sit down and do plein air painting, most people set up, they see something real quick that they like and they start setting up their paint box, but they'll never take the time to really in their head figure out, okay, what do I really need to do here to make this work? And so they'll start, painting these trees and things back there, and they'll get way, way too much information back there and not simplify it. And then by the time they get here, they can't get this to work the way they want because they've overworked the background. And so,
well, I guess I would be guilty of that. And that what I see, I try to paint it even when it's in the background. And so the thing is not to paint everything you see, just let it be a suggestion and
exactly, yes,
a color or something.
Yeah, a shape, a color, a value. Yeah,
Yeah.
And not get too futzy with it. Yeah. And Claudia, you would not be the only one who's guilty of that. Well, I know personally I've done it, many, many times. And, I try not to do it, but I still do it sometimes, Nobody's really perfect. Really nice formal portrait. Again.
Can I ask a question about the one you just passed, the little girl with the hat on?
Sure.
Which is the light coming in from this side? Her hair is dark here, like a shadow is on it.
Yeah, from the hat.
Yeah, I see that side. But if the light is coming from this side, why is her hair dark here?
Well, because the light isn't coming from the side, it's coming from up above, and it's filtering through a tree. And so you're just getting little bits of light, filtering through, hitting the ground. But there's no real direct light hitting her. So she's really pretty much so in shadow.
Okay.
But if you've ever stood under a tree and looked at somebody, just because it's shade doesn't mean that everything is like completely, dark, like the lights are out, because there's a lot of what we call reflected light, right? So she's still getting some shadow on her hair, but, she's getting a lot of reflected light, on her face and on the top of the hat. But there's no real direct light hitting her anywhere.
Okay.
We can see, maybe on the ground in front of her or something like that, but we don't know that. Okay. Like I said, here, again, really nice soft portrait. Again, the lighting, seems to be coming from the left, and slightly front of her. And it's got just a really nice soft feeling to it. Let's see how big we can get with this before it totally falls apart. Oh, right there, really. But if you look at, how he painted like the hands and the fingers and the feet.
Very good.
Yeah, it really handled, the edges and the values, really nicely. Same thing here in the face. Just a really kind of nice transition of color, and value, across the form of the face here.
If that was commissioned, I'm quite sure she purchased it.
Well, I think, and I haven't met her, but I'm pretty sure that's his wife.
His wife, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, the same lady that was laying in the bed with the baby. I think that's her.
That's why artists are attracted to beautiful women, so they can paint them.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say I'm guilty of that. Yeah.
I know.
Would you pan down back on her hand again, please, if you don't mind?
On her hand? Sure.
Yes, please.
Yeah, these two?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
All right.
I just wanted to see how he emphasized her knuckles. coming out there.
You did a good
They're
job.
quite emphasized, but they're still, it looks natural.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, they're soft. Yeah, they're not like real hard.
Yeah.
You know, they don't look like they're made out of metal or anything like that.
Well, and also she's very young, so you don't see a lot of veins in her hand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But you can see this slight.
Yeah. Now he's from the South. Okay. In fact, I want to say he lives in Kentucky. But you know, he lives in kind of this small town, and there's a really active African-American church there. And, you know, he's done like a whole series of paintings. And these are like really Orthodox Baptist, but he's gone to a couple of events, you know, different picnics and baptisms and things like that.
Yeah, that looked like a baptizing.
Uh-huh.
A day that they were going to be baptizing those young ladies.
Right. And so,
Maybe in the river or something.
right.
And the
And
tree behind it, it's a baptism. Baptizing. Yeah.
yeah, but he did a whole series, you know, of paintings, you know, on that subject.
That's
And
very nice.
this is just one of them. And this is a fairly small painting. You know, it's probably like about a 11 by 14. Something. Again, let's see. You know, does a really good job painting trees and water and reflection, stuff like that.
He's a great painter. I gotta say.
You know, nice daffodils there.
Mhm.
Not too bad with those flowers either. Now, you know, he does much better flowers than I do. You know, in just kind of getting
Oh, look at those.
of
Magnolias.
and you know, the hard, soft edges. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, just really, you know, a couple of peonies, you know. But again, you can kind of see here, you know, he's kept, you know, some of these edges, you know, really crisp, right? And then he's let other ones just kind of, you know, soften a bit. So, and that's, you know, that's just one of those things that you just got to keep working with. But, you know, really, really beautiful, you know, peonies there. More kind of swampy looking, you know, bottom. Let's see. Yeah, this is the same painting. It's not any bigger than the other one. Yeah, there's one of the ones that he did from that series. Let me blow that up. It's not a...
Gonna take me to the water, take me to the water to be baptized.
You know,
It's a song that goes with that.
yeah. But again, you know, look at how he used color, you know, to push and pull the space. And again, Jacqueline, you were asking about, you know, the light and the shadow, and you can see that, you know, it's filtered light, you know, it's going, you know, kind of breaking through a tree, and
Yes.
you can see the, you know, the light and shadow marks, you know, even on her face and her neck and chest, right?
Right. Oh, wow. That's pretty.
So it's, you know, it's making, you know, really good observations. This is another of that baptismal series.
Wow. Look at that water.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And we're talking about reflections, John.
Perfect reflections. Look at that.
Yeah, John, are you here? Did he go away? He disappears sometimes. John, are you around? Yes. John, where are you?
Look at that tree.
Took a little break.
Yeah, but notice, you know, I mean, you know, it's just like a mirror, you know. I mean, it's like wherever this tree is, that's where the reflection's going to be. Same thing with the figures. Now, notice that the figures are slightly darker, you know, in the water than they are out here. See, so there's about,
Yeah.
yeah, there's about a 2-step difference in value, say. and they're never going to be reflected as light, you know, as they are up here. But
He has blue and purple in there, you know, to
Well-
make it look darker.
Well,
Yeah.
the tree is reflected in there in the dark.
yeah,
That's why it's so dark, because of the tree.
but yeah, and again, it's darker in the water than it is up here.
Mhm.
So
You know, I noticed that he's showing ripples, a little bit of ripple in the water from the tree, but he has no ripple in the outfits, the dresses.
well, he does.
I
I
mean,
mean, like,
well, a little bit near the top, but closer to the shore, he doesn't show
yeah,
anything. It's pretty.
yeah,
Straight.
this one's pretty straight right here, and it could probably use a little bit of movement in it.
Well, this middle one has a little movement in it.
But yeah, let's get nitpicky with him, okay?
I know.
Picky.
But
Boy, we
you're
critics.
he could use a little more, you know. But again, yeah, this is not a cello. What is this called? It's the one that's in between the bass and the cello. I want to say not a viola.
Viola?
No.
No, viola's a small violin.
Small, like a violin, yes. It's cello. It's just a cello.
It's a
Charles.
cello. Yeah, it's a cello.
Cello.
Yeah, but still, beautiful job and just
Yes.
form and
Oh, yes, absolutely beautiful.
hands were positioning of the hands and lighting, really nicely done. So here's one that you guys will like. Somebody's waiting to go to church.
Yes, that's cute.
Yeah, that's a beautiful painting.
Uh-huh.
This man is awesome.
He is. I mean, with the realism of the everyday life.
Well,
Wow.
the thing is, again, he's really good at controlling, the
Light.
point. He takes a lot from Sargent, in the way Sargent painted, and he's very specific about where he wants those tight edges, and then keeping the rest of it softer. And again, this is like a really, really nice piece. Now it's fairly small, but it's just really nicely painted. And again, look at the reflection, from very light up here, and then the reflection down below is darker, with more color. The light coming through the fabric, of that curtain.
Look at those flowers. Oh, my eyes went right to the flowers.
Yeah.
Should they have gone to the flowers?
Yeah, that's the focal point, really.
Mm.
So, yeah. Really nicely managed stuff.
My goodness.
Yeah, now we could keep going, and we will. It's okay. But here, he did a project for the latest Star Wars. Okay, so there was some of his initial drawings, sketches, right? And then he began to lay in some values, on that.
Oh.
Developed a little bit further. Got to a point where he pretty much so got a complete underpainting, right? And then he started glazing, to make the skin blue. It's just Star Wars, you can't have, earthling colored skin. So, added the touches of the kimono. That's a little out of order. There's his model. So made her up and gave her, made the piece for the top of her head, for where those long tentacle type things, at the top of her head come from. So you see, there's a little bit of work, involved in stuff like that sometimes. Sometimes you got to put things together, improvise, to make it work. So you do what you got to do, right?
Mm.
Anyway, anybody got any thoughts about any of that stuff we looked at?
I have a long way to go, don't I?
Darling, we all got a long way to go, and here's the thing. We keep plugging away at it. Now, you'll never paint like him. You'll never paint like me, but I'll never paint like you. And, you're going to find the things that appeal to you, and you're going to kind of create your own work, just like, we all do. And we're not all meant, to do the same thing because we don't experience life the same. And I think the key thing that I could say about his work and just about anybody's work is you got to make it personal. You gotta bring things to your work that, you relate to, parts of your life, your experience. And that's really the important part is
Okay, yeah.
Getting across something that's true for you. Like, what would be the point of any of us sitting down and trying to paint a painting like the Madonna of the Rocks, like Leonardo da Vinci today? There wouldn't be any point in it, other than maybe just a good exercise in, a painting technique. But does it relate to our lives? No. None of us live in, the like 13th or 14th century in Italy, right? And so, we're not going to see, anyone in clothing like that. We're not going to find a grotto with rocks and things like that. We're certainly not going to see little angels floating around. But, well, maybe you would, depending on what, how many mushrooms you ate or how much pot you smoked. But, the point is, if you paint the thing that experiences from your own life, then it has meaning for you, but it also has meaning, for the world around you because you're sharing, what you think and feel and have experienced with, everybody out there in the world. And that's really what makes it art, Yeah.
What it tells me is that when he makes it personal like that, and he's dealing with realism in the world around him.
Yeah.
I'm a kind of traditional type of person also.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me want to paint just like him.
Well,
it's about the way that he makes it. Some of the things very pointed and sharp, and then and you can even see a lot of the detail, but then he softens it as he moves away from the focal point. Right. But it makes it seem like you could do that, even when you can't do that, but it makes you think you can do that.
Well, I love to paint like him.
That's me.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing, there are so many good painters out there today. And when I tell you, that some of the very best art that's ever been made is being made right this minute, out there today. And you and I, for the most part, will never know about it because, those artists are working just like us. They're in their studios, they're living their day-to-day life. Their work hasn't ended up in a museum yet or in, a collector's hands. And, there's some just absolutely phenomenal things out there being made right now. And, you just got to keep your eye out. But there's tons and tons of really talented artists out there. Probably more now than have ever lived on this planet. Seeing as how basically if you take from all the way up to the beginning of the 21st century and you look at all the people that lived before that, from the 21st century on to now, we've got as many people living today as have ever lived before. So the actual pool of talent is so much bigger now than it's ever been. I mean, what do we got? Like, you know, I want to say it's like 7.5 trillion people on the planet now. That's a lot of people, you know. That's quite a few. So, you know. So yeah, there's a lot of people out there, and there's quite a few of them out there pushing some paint around and drawing and, you know, designing and making things and, you know, writing books, making music, and doing all kinds of stuff like that. So, you know, there's a lot of talent out there. Anyhow, so hopefully some of what you saw today got you a little inspired, and maybe, you know, maybe you'll go push a little paint around this afternoon or tomorrow, okay? And then we'll be back here on Wednesday. We're talking about painting. So I have a special request, okay? Whoever, you know, if you're gonna be working on something, send it in, you know, in the morning, right? So I can gather it up and get it in the list, because I really didn't have much today. So we're all either taking a holiday or, you know, yeah, or people aren't wanting to share what they're doing. I don't know what it is. So, but hey, you know, this is all about, you know, it's like people look at it and they make their comments, and you start getting some feedback, and you start seeing it in a different way than maybe you looked at it before, right? And so, you know, they point out some things that you might want to go address, right? So,
Right.
yeah. So it can be instructive.
I just wanted to tell you, Charles, about the Professor and the Madman documentary about the making of the Oxford Marian Dictionary at the very, very beginning, which was like in the 1800s or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And the person, the madman that was in the sailor's asylum, who was Dr. William Minor, who had fought in the Civil War and then went to England. Mm-hmm. And he was schizophrenic, and they didn't know what it was at that time. But at the very end of the documentary, they show him sitting in his chair with the book, so he could get credit for his contribution, because he was brilliant. Mm-hmm. He was a savant. He was just brilliant, but schizophrenic. They had this painting, this photograph of him. It looked just the way that Mr. Wiley posed Barack Obama in his painting for his portrait.
Oh, okay.
And this was done back in the 18th century, right after the Civil War, or 19th century after the Civil War.
Yeah.
So and so, you know, as you were saying before, artists get the inspiration from everywhere, from different things, and pick and take and choose. And I was wondering when I first saw it, why is he having him sitting in this chair? Mm-hmm. Well, this doctor was a brilliant man, and he was schizophrenic, and he helped with the development of, and had the key to the development of the Merriam-Oxford Dictionary, Merriam-Webster Oxford Dictionary. So I think he was tying some things together, because I don't think that photograph was anywhere before that time. Mm-hmm. No, and that was back probably 1880, something like that. Mm-hmm.
Where can we see that picture?
It's the movie, The Professor and the Madman.
Okay.
It's just Google it. It's on maybe HBO or Xfinity On Demand. It's a documentary. It's based on a true story and development and the creation of the Oxford Merriam-Webster Dictionary. So
I'm gonna check that out.
You know, and it just tells you how brilliant people could be extremely smart, but be on that borderline, as they say. And they both were the two men were extremely smart. The professor was extremely smart, and so was the madman. But you know, one is played by Sean Penn, and the other one is played by Meryl Gibson, I think it is.
On YouTube, can I get it on YouTube, or is it on HBO or something?
No, it's going to be like on Xfinity On Demand documentaries. But I would suggest that you Google it on your phone, on your cell phone, and then it'll tell you where you can find it probably. that you can find it. It's very popular right now, so you can find it before it goes down in the archives.
And what's the name again?
It's The Professor and the Madman.
Okay, thank you.
It's the very last part of it, and you'll see where they took the picture, the very last. And then they show the actual photograph of the person. See, they take the picture in the movie, but then they show the picture of him in real life when that actually happened.
Mm.
From the 1800s. Okay. All right. Anybody else got anything before we call it a day and wrap it up?
But can I just say this? I would just suggest that if anyone runs across good movies like that or documentaries and things like that, would you just let me know? Because I like to spend my time, if I'm going to have some downtime before I fall asleep, looking at something that's going to be of value where I can really learn something.
Okay. Well, we can also, if somebody comes across something that they feel they want to share or is relevant, like a film or something like that, send me an email with a link, and I can share that, with everybody. And that way people have a chance maybe to go check it out so that we can actually talk about it, during a class or something. Okay?
I sent you a link to those dinosaurs, and you have to stay in your car because they might hurt you or you them.
I'm sorry, what now? You sent me
Remember the dinosaurs I tell you about that were those animated?
Yeah.
I sent you their link. But
Yeah,
it's a drive-through.
It is, yeah. Right.
So it's a drive-through. Oh.
Yeah, it's a drive-through over here at Whitewater. They're going to be having it. In fact, they're selling tickets for it now. And I don't live that far from Whitewater, but the thing is, I don't want to do a drive-through. I'd like to drive in, and then I'd like to be able to get out of my car and photograph those from different angles. So I want to contact somebody at Whitewater to see if that's possible. Because, a lot of it would be really good reference, if you're going to be doing if you needed some reference on dinosaurs, that would be great reference. And they're to scale. So, it's not like they're reduced in size. This is actual like life size. But I looked at some photographs, and I guess they were in Arizona where the photos came from. And, it looks pretty impressive. It looks like a lot of that tour was scheduled for night, though, so that they could light them and do some lighting effects and stuff on them.
Are these creatures like in Jurassic Park? The actual physical pieces?
Yeah, no,
Okay.
these are actually off of their, I guess some of them are animatronic, so they actually move. But they are based off of the best research and knowledge that we have right now on what dinosaurs actually do. Which has changed radically in even the last 20 years. What people really, thought that they looked like and moved. Of course, with these, they, the idea has changed since the time that these were made, because now, most paleontologists would sort of tell you that T-Rex was actually covered in feathers.
Oh my.
Yeah, they were.
Hey, who knew?
Yeah, no, but they actually were, because now they've gone back, they've looked at a lot of the fossils, and there were some imprints of the skin. And in those imprints, you can actually find, like the little fine filaments, of the feathers that have been petrified or, turned, and they, all of the meat-eating dinosaurs came from a genus of dinosaur that were called theropods, right? And theropods, basically, that's the branch that birds came off of, see? And so that robin, or blue jay flying around out there, they're basically a dinosaur. That's what they are. They're a smaller version. But, that's literally what they are, because they're directly, descended from that line. So, think about that next time you eat a chicken, we're eating dinosaurs. We are. So.
Not too bad, not too bad.
Yeah, we've kind of turned the tables on them. You know, they
Yeah.
run around and eat our ancestors, and now we're eating theirs. So, you know, there may be some justice on the planet after all. But, you know, remember, you know, after, I don't know how interested in, you know, paleontology and things you guys are, but, you know, we went from the extinction of the dinosaurs, and there was a long period of time when life on Earth was recovering, and we went through almost 60 million years where the dominant predators on the planet were actually birds. And that's, you know, it took, you know, from the extinction of the dinosaurs, that 60 million years, birds got to, you know, just about the size of the dinosaurs. You know, I mean, we're talking a bird running around that's, you know, 14, 15 feet tall. And, you know, they were, you know, they used to hunt our ancestors, you know, and eat them on a regular basis. And, you know, somehow, you know, we finally, you know, got a foothold and a chance, and, you know, then we started turning around and eating them. So
and shooting the poor birds. Yeah.
We
got that gunpowder, and we haven't stopped since.
Yeah. Well, it started a couple of million years before that, actually.
Yeah.
But yeah. So it's when you start looking at the evolution of life on this planet, it's really kind of interesting. And, you know, I know that us being who we are, you know, we all think that we're all important and that, you know, we got a good beat on everything. But, you know, the dinosaurs were around for about 300 million years. You know, birds were around for about 50 to 60 million years, and mammals have been around for about another 60 to 70 million years. And out of that 60 and 70 million, human beings have only been running around for less than 2 million. So, you know, if you...
We got big egos, though. So we think we're all that, and we're not. We're only going to be here for a half a minute or a second or so.
Yeah, we have
on the scale of things.
Yeah, we have been here for a whole blip, you know. That's it.
That's why the Matrix made sense to me. It was like, it's time for the machines now. It's time for the human beings to go.
Yeah. Well, hopefully not too soon, but yeah. Hopefully we got a minute. You know, if we can get a whole minute out of the whole, you know, time scale clock, and we're talking about 4.5 billion years. Well, you know, if we can get a whole minute out of that, you know, then we might be around for what, about, you know, 6 to 8 million years. You know, we might be able to do something by then. Who knows? So, you know, at least we'll have a chance, you know.
Well, I know we'll be able to do a lot of creating of things. How we'll develop as the human spirit, that's a whole different ball game, you know. Hopefully we can tilt the scale the other way.
Yeah, well, that's why it's going to take us about 6 to 8 billion, you know, or million, just to let that evolve, you know, and for us to kind of figure out that, hey, you know, we all just kind of need to, like, get over it and get along.
Well, we are getting to a place that I know the pandemic, people want to touch and hug everybody, but that's just your close relatives. But they were saying that love in the future would be where you just the spirit of love, but you wouldn't be touching and hugging and doing any of those kind of things with a significant other.
Yeah.
And the way things are going now, men dare touch a woman without being married to her. You know, you're back where you have to get married first before you can. Your first kiss will be during the wedding ceremony at the end. So
that just doesn't sound like
any touching, but definitely.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like it's any fun at all to me. So
it's not, you know. I wouldn't take that chance if I was a guy. You know,
I think
you'll be in for it. Come back later, 20 years later, and they'll get you.
Yeah, no, I think I'm here at the right time then. So
yeah, you are.
Anyhow, all right.
Is Jean still with us?
Jean?
Yeah, I see. My computer is showing a funny picture of her place, like there might be something.
Oh yeah, no, Jean Goldstein.
On there.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
looks like something might be candle or something flickering.
Yes, okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, she might be out walking her dog at this point. Yeah.
Mhm.
No idea.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, she's got dog walking responsibilities.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's been fun, and I guess we'll see you on Wednesday, okay? Till then,
Okay.
you know,
Thank you.
So
Have a
long.
good evening, everybody.
yeah, don't behave yourselves. Get out, act up, you know, get in as much trouble as you can. All right.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right.
Bye.
Take care.
Thank you.